Hello everyone and welcome to this special webinar on the 2017 federal budget that was presented last night. So I'm just going to do one very quickly. It's 12 points in 12 minutes. So see if I can get through that nice and quickly and get some information to everyone out there. People who don't know who I am, that's me, Derek Nolan. I'm the business owner of 12 Chartered Accountants. So I'm sure by now you would have watched at least one of my webinars. We've been doing this for a couple of years. So this one's one of the special 12-minute ones. So let's see if I can get it done. So this is in no particular order. So I'm going to start off with a few people, ones that people are familiar with. This is the $20,000 asset write-off. Everyone got excited a couple of years about this one, thinking they were getting $20,000 from the government. Well, they weren't. All they're doing is that they're going to continue with what they had in place, because the original one was supposed to finish the 1st of July 2017. This is where you go and buy an asset for less than $20,000, and instead of having to depreciate it over 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever years, you get an instant write-off in the year you buy it. So here we are in May. If you go and buy something for less than $20,000 in the next 6 weeks, you get a tax deduction for it this year. Now that was increased last year to businesses that turn over less than $10 million. So a lot of people who are watching this today will be able to do that. So good news, they've decided to continue it. Okay, next one is the company tax rate. Again, this is old news. So as promised, the government has decided to commit to the 27.5% company tax rate for small businesses, which is great. Now, there was some talk whether they're actually going to get rid of this and go back to the original 30%, but no, they're actually going to do it. And it's going to be for the 2017 year, which we're in right now. Again, for businesses with less than $10 million turnover. Now, obviously, they're trying to say, well, we're going to do this fantastic thing and actually increase or decrease the tax rate to 25%, but really that's not until the year 2027. So don't get too excited about that. But anyhow, a little bit is always good. So that's good news. Third point is overseas workers. Now this one's, it's only put that one in there because I have a lot of clients that do actually have workers who are under the 457 visas. So what they've done, they're abolishing that whole 457 visa. I think they're calling it something else, temporary worker or something like that. But what you're going to do is that every business that has a temporary worker, they're going to have to pay an $1,800 per year, almost like a tax per person per year, that goes towards a training levy for Australian local workers. Another thing there, just really throwing it so I can fit on the slide, is foreign property owners will have to pay capital gains tax on their main residence when they sell it. Okay, up until now that hasn't been the case. I've got a few clients that might actually be interested for, but not too many. The Medicare levy, this is the one that all the talkback radio is talking about. So it's pretty simple. The Medicare levy, which is currently 2%, is going to increase by 0.5% up to 2.5% of your taxable income. I'll get to a slide a little bit later on when that actual Medicare levy kicks in. But so basically, everyone has to pay that extra 0.5%. Basically, they're trying to fund the National Disability Insurance Scheme, which came in a few years ago. Now, the good news is that this Medicare levy increase won't actually happen until another 12 months. So the 1st of July 2019. So we're going to finish this financial year, the 17 year. We're going to finish next year, 2018, and that's when it comes in. So someone who's on about $50,000 a year, you'll notice it's about $4 reduction in your pay, which is about a cup of coffee a week. So just be ready for it. Next one was this deficit levy. This is a thing that came in probably 5 or 6 years ago. So anyone that earned more than $250,000 was having to pay this deficit levy of 2%. Well, that's been abolished. They've worked out that they've done that for a few years now, earn a couple of bucks, but decide they don't need it anymore. So that's a good thing. I don't know what that job seeker's there. We threw that in just to, because the media were talking about it this morning. Moving along, this is another one. I don't know how they're going to enforce this one, but this is something that came in the budget last night, pretty much out of the blue. No one was expecting this one. So big banks are going to be hit with a 0.06% levy, which starts in a couple of months' time. Details are very sketchy at the moment, but effectively it's going to affect the big five banks. Obviously, all the talk on the radio is whether and how the banks are going to pass it on to the customers. But the main thing is the government's trying to raise some money. Whether it's the banks end up paying it or whether it's the end users, I'm sure we'll work that out in the next few months when it first kicks in. Moving along, university students, again, plenty of people out there with their HELP debt or the old HEX debt. So a couple of things is they're increasing the fees. So I know my wife has just finished doing some study at university. Cost a fair bit. Well, it's going to cost more. As you can see there, roughly it's nearly doubling. So there's obviously going to be another fee increase next year and the year after. So some big hikes in the actual amount of fees. But the main thing people need to be aware of is the income threshold where you actually start paying your HEX back is going to drop from $55,000 down to $42,000. So a lot of people will have to start paying this HEX back. Now, you may not have already set this up with your employer to start taking the extra tax out. So just be really aware of that one because you don't have to earn too much before you having to start paying it back now. Moving along, property investors, again, there wasn't too much news on this front. The good news was that the negative gearing is going to stay. So that's great news for everyone who has the investment property. Mind you, less and less people that I do their tax returns for actually have properties that are negative because rents have been going up, interest rates have been going down. A lot of them are actually quite positive now. But the little tweaking that they did was that travel expenses for people that have rental properties have basically been scrapped. There was too much of people just rorting the whole system. They got a rental property in Queensland, for example. It's being looked after by an agent. They do everything, but everyone's trying to claim their holiday to the Gold Coast to go and inspect the new oven that just got put into their rental property. So the tax office decided just to scrap the whole travel expenses for rental properties. So this funny restoration rule to prevent developers from selling more than 50% of their developments to foreigners. Sorry, they restored that rule. They brought it in probably about 5 or 6 years ago, got rid of it, bring it back in again. So not too many of my development clients will worry about that, but it's just interesting to see they've done that. Moving along, family tax benefits. Well, the news there is nothing. Nothing's changed. So the government will maintain the current family tax benefits for the next 2 years, and that's the thresholds and the rates. In a way, it's probably a bad thing because the rates used to normally just tick up a little bit with inflation every year. So that's not going to happen for 2 years, but at least it's still around the thresholds for family tax benefits. Part A and Part B have stayed the same. As I mentioned before, the Medicare levy has going to increase from 2% to 2.5%. The threshold, just for people who didn't know this, the Medicare levy is payable once your income, your taxable income, goes over $21,655 for a single or $36,541 for a couple, which is slightly different to what the income tax-free threshold of $18,200 is. So a lot of people didn't realize it was actually different. You actually get an additional amount for every dependent child that you have. So I just thought I'd throw that one in because that increase from 2 to 2.5% will only affect the amount of people that earn income in excess of those numbers there. So again, just represents a small increase from previous years, those thresholds. Next one was superannuation. Now there's a few things here which is quite interesting with super. People over the age of 65, if they sell the house, they're allowed to put $300,000 of the proceeds into their superannuation. Now that's important because there's this contribution, or there's this cap of $1.6 million that is currently in place. This $300,000 is in addition to that. So if you're one of those people that actually have got $1.6 million in a pension scheme, or trying to get a large amount into super, and you're sort of struggling to do that, this could be an opportunity to do that, because those that $300,000 doesn't hit that threshold. The last thing, I think I'm keeping to my 12 minutes, is the first home buyers scheme. Now, this is probably the most exciting thing about the budget last night. And basically what that is that contributions to a superannuation fund, a complying one, up to $15,000 each a year, with a lifetime of $30,000. So you can't get too carried away with this. Can be salary sacrificed to a special home deposit within your superannuation fund. Okay, that's pretty exciting. And what that will mean, though, is it'll be taxed on the way in at 15%. But the good thing about salary sacrifice, depending on what tax threshold you're in, you could be up for a significant savings here. So if you're in the higher tax brackets, 38, 39%, you'll be able to save that. Sure, there's be tax on the money going to the superannuation at 15%, plus the earnings will be taxed at 15%, but that's a lot better than being taxed at 38.5%, 40%. Fantastic. So there's some significant savings there, and there's no age based on this. Remember, there was a salary sacrifice arrangement, but it had to be over the age of 55. Okay, so this is pretty exciting. On the flip side, when you take the money out, when you've got your house to actually buy, you will be taxed, but again, you get the first 30% tax-free, then the bit over that up until your marginal rate. So if you're on, say, 32.5%, you pay 2.5% on the amount coming out. So that's pretty exciting. Now, I've been thinking about some numbers, and I'll do another webinar on this later, but can actually be very, very exciting about, you could put $15,000 each over husband and wife. So $30,000 over, say, May, June, July, August. So that's sort of over 2 years. So it's $15,000 each over 2 years. So between the two of you, that's $60,000. You might already have that money sitting in a deposit, ready to go anyhow, but you can hold off your settlement until, say, August, throw this $60,000 through super, get a fantastic tax deduction for it, whip it out the other side, and buy your house when it's ready for settlement in a few months' time. Talk to me about that one. I'm really excited about that one. Okay, and that's actually in addition to the current $25,000 cap and the 9.5%. So this is over and above that. So really excited about that one. Okay, that was it. My budget, my 2017 budget, my 12 points in 12 minutes. Spot on time. Really happy about that. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye for now.